Good morning, folks. We've got Halloween news. We're going to talk about it on the other side of the intro. Let's go.
Don't try that Halloween shit with me.
Here we are, bounding into comics. You'll have to excuse my voice. I've got a little bit of a cold, but we have Halloween news, and it is Miramax's Halloween TV show has a chance to bring back the film series' most divisive element and do it right. And this is one that I have mixed emotions about. Being a Halloween fan, the Cult of Thorn, the inclusion of that story angle in part 5 with the wrist tattoo, the man in black, and then leading into the Curse of Michael Myers, debut of Paul Rudd, the MTV, 90s Michael Myers. It was jarring, to say the least. As a kid, seeing Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, the end scene with the man in black always vexed me, I guess. It was like you saw him walking around all movie. He murdered and massacred the entire police force from Haddonfield. Again, who would sign up to be a Haddonfield police officer?
All clear. Nothing above, nothing below.
The Cult of Thorn. We have the man in black. He comes in, lays waste to the police department, and Myers escapes. And he's taken to the basement of one of the was it Smith's Grove Sanitarium or whatever. He's in they're holding him, and he has somehow impregnated his niece.
Because that's what heroes do.
Is what we're led to believe, and the baby in Curse of Michael Myers. This is a muddled mess. Not to mention you have the theatrical producer's cut. It's a mess. Did I hate the Cult of Thorn idea? Yeah, kind of. The older I got, the more I learned about it, and it didn't make sense because Myers is killing on instinct. He's, there's nobody controlling him. He is just an entity. He's the shape. That's what he is. And to take that away from him is doing a great disservice to the character and the lore. So we'll take a look at this article, see what it has to say. Despite the not so subtle implication of the title Halloween Ends, Miramax announced not too long ago they're moving forward with a TV series set once again in the home of Michael Myers, Haddonfield, Illinois. It doesn't have a creative team behind it yet, but the producers are enthusiastic about building the Halloween shared universe, which I suppose they're going to go back and forth between television and television, streaming, and the cinema with this. So I am cautiously optimistic, I guess is the best thing I could say, depending on what direction they tend to lean in with this. I was not a fan of the David Gordon Green trilogy at all. The only thing I can say positive about that is that the 2018 Halloween was decent.
Decent!
Don't get me wrong, I still vehemently dislike it. But there were some things in there that were decent, and I think it was Halloween Kills that they had the sequence, the flashback sequence to 78, which, again, I can't remember if that was I haven't watched Kills or the 2018 Halloween in years. If they would have done a Halloween movie in the vein of the flashbacks to 78, they had the aesthetic captured. They had the look. They should have done that. It would have worked much better, but here we are, and we're getting ready to branch out into this new timeline, this new take. They're going back to the beginning, and the article starts like this. Nonetheless, they intend to respect the definitive end of the 2022 film, at least for now, which means a new series. They're going back to the beginning. It's a creative reset completely and going back to the original film as opposed to spinning out of any of the more recent adaptations, said Miramax's head of worldwide television, Mark Helwig, courtesy of Giant Freakin' Robot. There was all that talk a month or two ago about Dwight Little, and he was the director of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, and a sequel to that, which, I mean, as a fan of Halloween 4, and I mean a big fan of Halloween 4, that is, outside of the original, my favorite. I like the idea. I like the idea of bringing back Jamie Lloyd. I like the idea of bringing back Rachel Carruthers and building from there. Now, I know Rachel got killed in part 4, but I mean, let's be honest. Anything can be done these days. So, I mean, if you're going to do something crazy, then why not bring back 2 characters who want to come back? So that opens up a world of possibilities, and not just for the new kinds of developments, twists, and turns David Gordon Green foisted upon us. In a fresh take unconnected to anything but the first one, yet again, everything should be fair game. Even plot points most fans feel are better left forgotten, and that brings us to the Halloween franchise is full of them, and they didn't begin with Corey Cunningham, who was a terrible character who I absolutely could not stand. From Michael and Laurie being siblings to Rob Zombie's apocryphal white horse psychobabble, there are things without much thought behind them we've seen over the years that have either lasted a long while or failed to launch entirely. Perhaps none of those ideas is more infamous than the Cult of Thorn introduced in Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Thorn, although used to tie together a whole timeline of roughly 5 movies except for Part 3, Season of the Witch, was dropped by producer Mustafa Akkad almost instantaneously. Fans weren't losing sleep over this as the cult aspect didn't appeal to them for the most part. Even defenders of Curse's producer's cut were ready to move on, but arguably the problem with Thorn was its execution and not the concept. The whole thing was mishandled from the beginning when its seeds were planted in Halloween 5. The Thorn tattoo and the man in black were introduced per marching orders passed down to director Dominique Othenin-Girard, but with no plan in place to pay any of it off down the line, as we see the tattoo here, which, remember, that transferred from Myers to Loomis in the end of Part 6. In the end, that was up to Curse writer Daniel Farrens, whose explanations took a half-decade to reach screens. It was a miracle anyone cared by that point, but that was hardly the worst thing Farrens had to worry about, with the meddling of the Weinsteins causing so much drama behind the scenes. Another problem arose narratively when it became abundantly clear the Cult of Thorn turns Michael into a lackey with no agency of his own. See, that's what I said. He stands alone. He's not beholden to anybody. Gone were the mystery and Myers being an unpredictable personification of evil without a cause, and in were the runes, constellations, and a cursed bloodline. Add to that a questionable incest subplot with his niece Jamie, as I mentioned earlier, and you can sympathetically see why this convolution was cast aside. But as the old saying goes, that was then, this is now. Horror is full of new blood who grew up fans of Halloween and all its sequels. You know, they marathoned and studied them, appreciating the touches that were panned in their time. The Untitled TV series doesn't have writers, and if Miramax is smart enough, they can take a chance and select someone or a team who sees potential in the Thorn concept. They could take a page out of the X-Files, Twin Peaks, or Stranger Things if Haddonfield becomes a character unto itself in the story and put the Thorn cult at the heart of something deeper afoot in the town. See, that's not a bad idea. But to have them controlling Myers is a giant misstep, and I believe that'll alienate a lot of viewers and turn people away from it. The cult could add some texture and flavor into the plot when Michael isn't around without minimizing or outshining him. They can be there without pulling his strings or getting in his way, perhaps as worshippers or followers who intercede on his behalf when called for. It could be as if he is their master instead of vice versa. Yes, this works more to where they worship him, which is how I originally thought it was going to be until we realized that it wasn't. And yeah, they're worshiping him. They're willing to kill people in the town, people who might be stumbling across their existence or, trying to track him. And yeah, they come in and they take him out. And then, Michael he's not condoning it, but he's kind of their deity. So they're doing this in honor of him. You're probably sitting there thinking, Michael doesn't need servants. This isn't going to work. Believe me, I feel you. That's from the author. Rest assured, the above is just spitballing until modern Hollywood and its tendencies can raise concern. There's no denying the show could easily wind up in the hands of a diversity hire who, not caring about the lore, massively fumbles things. Yes, that is a constant fear of mine in both leading into the Halloween show and the forthcoming Crystal Lake series from Peacock, the Friday the 13th series. That is terrifying because you don't want a DEI writer's room who's like, oh, well, this person needs to be that, and this is a victim. And it's like, no, this isn't an allegory for some kind of systemic make-believe scenario in which you play a victim. No. However, they won't need to give the Cult of Thorn any consideration at all for that to happen. In the right hands, Halloween TV can be good and productive. Use can be made of the Thorn plot. We can have it both. It can be done. We spend all this time asking if things can be done and not pondering the question, should they be done? I don't think the Cult of Thorn should be reintroduced. Definitively, I don't. I think it would take away from the story, and it was such a maligned part of this lore and mythos that it's not going to add anything. We need Michael. He needs a knife and Haddonfield and some victims. That's what we need. And you develop around that. You develop, how is he related to these characters? How does the town see him? It all needs to have ebbs and flows, and that's what I really hope we can get with this series. And then the forthcoming cinematic version of this story, which is going to continue, and they're going to exist in the same universe from everything that I've read and we've seen so far, which I don't mind as long as it's done right, with the right connectivity and characters and story. So there you have it. That's what I got on Halloween today. Are you looking forward to this show from Miramax, this streaming series that's going to come out, the new movies? What do you think of them going all the way back to the beginning? Again, I know, folks. Let me know in the comments. If today's the day and you haven't done it yet, turn that red button gray, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, because YouTube likes to shove us way down and not notify my longtime subscribers and even channel members. That's not hyperbole. That's real. That's what happens. Do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Etep from the Place to Be Reviews. I've been here with all of you. If I don't see you, have a great day, pleasant tomorrow. Remember, it's always better to burn out and fade away.